Thanks for staying with us. The Worldwide Fund for Nature says South Africans use a lot of plastic. 56% of plastic waste is not recycled, and landfill sites are fast filling up. Often this waste ends up in the rivers and oceans, which has a negative impact on the environment. eNCA's Janke Tolmay joins me live now from Delta Park for more on this story. Janke, 56% of South Africans don't recycle, of waste is not recycled. Just how bad is the plastic problem in this country?
Well, it is quite of a concern, specifically if you look at the impact that it has, and still that a lot of South Africans still do use single-use plastic products, even though there are discussions now in place that this might be banned, just certain products like plastic straws, earbuds and plastic tableware. But today we want to focus on Johannesburg specifically, where officials are saying that when it comes to recycling, it's not at the level really where they want it to be in Johannesburg, and that's why we came to Delta Park today. This is where the city is running one of their cleanup campaigns, and just to see how many bags of plastic and waste just keeps on coming by. And this is supposed to be a beautiful park, but still, if you look closely, there seems to be a lot of waste. But it is interesting if you ask someone if they actually recycle, what they know, what the laws around recycling are. There's quite a number of questions that a lot of South Africans do not know the answers to. So we are going to explore this with the MMC for Environment in Johannesburg, Nico de Jager. MMC, just where is the level of recycling when it comes to plastic in Johannesburg, and do we need to be concerned?
Yes, we need to be concerned. We're not quite where we want to be. We started with the mandatory recycling in certain parts of Johannesburg from the 1st of July 2018. At the moment, we're recycling roughly 40,000 tonnes a day, which is quite far off from where we want to be at 100,000 tonnes, 100 tonnes a day. So it is quite far off. However, challenges that we had with the initial recycling, etc., we are dealing with that now. We also then have to tap into what national guidelines from national government in terms of plastic and recyclables, etc. You know, anything that ends up in our river courses, ends up along our parks, etc., or the oceans. And that's why it is so critical, especially when you talk about cotton butts, etc., straws. Those are things that even when we do our, when it goes through to our wastewater treatment works, it often gets through the cleaning process and still ends up in the rivers, etc. So it's really music to my ears if we talk about banning these products, because it causes not only severe damage to the infrastructure, but also, as you say, pollute the water courses.
Now, even if we're going to ban certain of these products, plastic is not going away. So a lot of focus has to go into recycling and seeing how you can reuse these products specifically. What are the laws or the bylaws around recycling in Johannesburg at the moment?
Well, in terms of recycling, what we are doing, we have the mandatory recycling, and we then call on our also work to be done at our landfill sites, where we have recyclers working on our landfill sites as well. So just in terms of the laws, etc., we then on-sell that to recycling companies that can reuse the plastic, etc. But it is, as I said, it's still not at the level where we want it to be.
Now, if a resident in Johannesburg takes the time to separate their plastic, I don't know how many people actually do that, but can they be confident that the waste will not then be put into one dump site and not be recycled at the end of the day?
That's very critical, of course, and that is where a lot of people say, oh, but we recycle and it still ends up in a truck. Yes, it ends up in a truck because you recycle bottle, glass, tin, paper, all into the same bag. We then take that to the different buyback centres where they further separate the waste. So we are confident that whatever we recycle and whatever recyclers collect ends up in the right space. But we still need to do a lot more than what we're currently doing.
What do you feel are residents' feelings around recycling? Some people take it seriously. Have you experienced a lot of people who say they do in fact separate their waste, or is it just a case of people think other people will be doing it?
I think it's often the case that some people think other people are doing it, but I must also say that if they see the efforts that we put into recycling, the efforts that we are putting into putting our money where our mouth is, so especially with the regular cleanups that we do, with the illegal dumping sites that we're eradicating, etc., there is a massive uptake on that then. And when you drive around early in the morning, you see the bags out. People do put their bags out. In my neighborhood, I see that all the time. And, it's across the city where we have the mandatory, where we have contractors, where we have the subcontractors.
Just quickly on the mandatory recycling, just explain that to who's it up to do it?
It's still up to the residents. We don't have penalties in place, and there's a reason for that. Because the mandatory recycling is not across the city. It's really focused on certain areas only at this point in time, and it's only because we had some level of recycling there already. So before we expand, we wanted to be sure that where we do it, we can actually do it properly.
So in the future we can maybe see laws coming into place that everyone in Johannesburg needs to separate the waste?
We will see some level of penalties coming up in the future, yes.
Just quickly, if someone is listening today and they think that they're going to start recycling or separating their waste, can you assure them that when it comes to the dump site, it will be separated and it will go as much as possible towards recycling this plastic?
Absolutely. We are running out of landfill airspace as it is. So whatever we say we recycle, I'm very confident that we are recycling and it ends up in the right space. But also a lot of our recycling happens on our landfill sites where we have the informal sector operating on the landfill sites, and they then bring that recyclables to the gates normally where we have buyback centres coming to buy from them on site.
Do these include the informal waste pickers that are being registered, and how many have been registered so far?
Absolutely, it includes informal the informal sector is all of the waste pickers in the informal space. We've registered to date 1,500 or roundabout. I did a little interview earlier this week, so we are confident, that we are moving in the right direction. We're working very closely with the waste associations to deal with that.
Okay, perfect. Thank you very much. There you have it. Still a lot of work that needs to be done, but certainly a very crucial issue, specifically if you see how much focus has been given to environmental issues lately. Yesterday we saw across the globe young people striking, calling for action when it comes to climate change. We saw the UN Environment Conference taking place in Kenya also this week. And of course, as I've mentioned, the discussions about maybe banning single-use products in South Africa. So it's definitely something that citizens will need to start really paying attention to if they are not doing so yet.